All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I am asking for quite a bit of engagement. You can either unmute yourself or drop information in the chat along the way, but let me go ahead and get started. Talking about ActionPay, more so, not necessarily the tool. It does have some to do with the tool, but also just the practices of how do we utilize this tool to improve our cash flow and increase our on-time payments. Josiah actually wrote an article for the Slippery Rock this past month, just talking about how so much of your income is behind a gated wall right now, and how can we access that money sooner. So Josiah, I'm going to put some pressure on you. Can you go ahead and drop that article in the chat for people if they want to go check that out? They can. But let me get all set. All right. So our goals for today, I just want to learn, and part of this is learning for us. So we want to hear what challenges you all are having in your cash flow and your hangups. What's keeping you from getting paid, and how can we help you with that? I want to show you how ActionFlow can help maybe alleviate some of those challenges you're currently having, and integrating ActionPay into your process for faster results. One powerful thing about ActionFlow is the process automation. So how can you use ActionPay and the process automation combined to collect payments sooner? So with that, we'll keep going. Just some cash flow
Kyle,
yeah,
if I could interject for a quick.
Yeah.
I know you refer to it as ActionPay, but I think most of us know it as PaySimple.
Yep.
So
That's
just
fine.
kind of use the two words interchangeably.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And we'll dive into it a little bit more. Yeah, it's ActionPay powered by PaySimple. And we'll dive more into that tool and what that means and everything there as well. But common cash flow clogs that we've seen, and if you'd be willing to just kind of in the chat, which one you identify with the most. Slow to send invoices. It's a week past the job and you haven't collected final payment and you haven't sent that invoice yet. Not receiving deposits at all. You just collect final payment, or you're not receiving enough on your deposits. A lack of payment options. Either you're asking someone to come into the shop with a check, or waiting to the day of install to collect a check, or they can't pay by card at all. You're only taking cash. I know as a buyer myself, the lack of payment options, who I choose to go with, a lot of it depends on how easy is that transaction. So I'd be curious for you all, which one do you feel the most? Lack of follow-up, just not following up with the quote, not getting those opportunities for payment, building that into your process. Is there any of those that you all identify with more than the other? Josiah, I'll need your help because I do not see it over here. But I'll keep going. So yeah, those are the cash flow clogs that we're going to be addressing today. And then what is ActionPay? And just getting back to what Roderick was talking about. It's our integrated payment collection solution. It's powered by PaySimple. And what it allows us to do is collect ACH, credit card, and debit payments from within ActionFlow. So we can collect them. We can send an email. We can send a text. Or if someone comes into the shop in person, we can take those kind of payment options. It also provides insight into payments that have not been received yet. And when it's combined with the processes, it can help increase that time to payment. The name of the game is just trying to get paid sooner. How soon can I get paid, and not waiting to that day of install or past to get paid. So how it works, we'll dive into it real quick. And give you an insight into how it actually works. So with that, I'll open up ActionFlow. All right, so I have a quote here, and very beginning, there's a few different options of how we can send out these payment links or give options to collect payment. At the very first is when I create a quote in ActionFlow, I can actually run this, have it ready, and I can email this out from within ActionFlow. And when I email this out, it can include payment links in that email. And a lot of times this can be used really well as like a soft ask for a sale. You've run up the quote, you're trying to give them some more information, and you're not really sure if they're ready to move forward or not, but you can include this, and it's a great opportunity as a soft ask for a sale. Just give them that option, make it easy. If they like what they see, they can click on those links and it'll take them to a payment page. And we'll take a look at that payment page here in a second. So that's one way. It's just right off the beginning, off the bat, we can go ahead and include those payment links and send those out. And if I click OK, I should actually get that email in a couple of minutes. So that's one way that we can leverage ActionPay to get paid. Another option that we have is to embed it in the actions that we have at the bottom. So when we start off, we create an estimate, we've done that, we've sent it out, then we want to follow up with this job order. And these processes, you guys can decide however you want to do that. But then they say, okay, they want to move forward, and then receive deposit. So on this receive deposit action, you could include it to have multiple different ways that I want to send this information out to my customer. And so if I right click, and we could build this in, but I can also text and I can email again, or I can take a link and send that in another email. So if I right click on this credit card payment, do I want full or partial payment here? I could email it, text it, or I could copy the link and email it to them out of Outlook or Gmail or whatever you're using. So if I click text, I'll say I want the full amount due, text the link. When I send that text to that person, they'll get the link to go ahead and make the payment towards the job. And you can embed those in your process. So we'll go a little bit more into this, but when we can make people ask for payments like 3 days before install. I want to send a reminder that, hey, you haven't paid, and I want to send a text and an email with that link so that it's easy, accessible for them to go ahead and make those payments. We'll click that one more time. Here's that page that I was trying to get to earlier. I think my email had a filter on there. But you can see customer name gets filled out, the payment amount, credit card fee, they enter their information and they complete checkout. When they complete that checkout, you'll get an alert in your actions that you've received payment towards that job. Any questions on this action pay, or Roderick, feel free to jump in with anything I may have missed as far as how the tool works. We're still going to jump into how to leverage it a little bit more.
Not so much the tool, just wanted to make everybody aware that text messaging is something that can be added to your system. Natively, text messaging is not part of ActionFlow. Mm-hmm. It is an add-on that can be added using Twilio as the agent to do that with you. There's no fee from ActionFlow's perspective, but there is a bit of setup and configuration, and there is an agreement with Twilio that needs to be configured.
Yep, good point. Good point. And all of this is about just ease of transaction, ease of making it easier for that customer to get you paid. That's our whole goal with this. Let me jump back into my presentation. So that's kind of my quick rundown of Action Pay. What I really wanted to get into are these discussion questions and to have opportunities for people to share what they're experiencing out there in the field. So Action Pay and the processes, these are just some of the questions that are out there that we had a really good conversation at the user retreat. Oops, let me swap. Questions of, do you know your sales cycle? When are you closing? From the time that the quote is sent to a time that you receive final payment, how long is that taking? How can we make that better? Do you have any information on that? Are you collecting deposits? Are you collecting enough? Who are you collecting deposits for? When are you asking customers for payment? How often? One that I think I learned actually at a Synchronous Solutions event that I was invited to that I thought was a great idea is, can you incentivize for early payment? Are there things that you can offer that are low-hanging fruit for you all that doesn't really cost you much, but you can use it to incentivize early payment before install? If you pay 100% before install, you get this sealer, or you get something to try and increase that speed to cash. How many times are you asking a sales rep to follow up on quotes? It's amazing when we look at people's processes, how little follow-up is being done on these quotes, or how many are just hanging out there. So building that in to your process and including, we're going to follow up after 3 days, and we're going to send a text, and we're going to send an email, and it's going to have that payment link, and just reminding them. People have great intentions, but sometimes if you're anything like me, there's 10,000 things going on. I'm a little ADHD. I get distracted. And those follow-ups are helpful. So how can we be pleasantly persistent? And then, are your customers aware of your process? Like, do they know this is when the deposit comes? This is when, this is how much, this is why. There's always a little bit of danger in educating your customer. But do they know why you're asking for these things? Do they know when? More importantly, do they know when you're asking for these things and when they can expect to make that final payment? So I'm curious in the chat, if anyone, which ones of these do you guys identify with? Which ones do you think you need help with? Roderick, in your experience, or Ed, in your experience with fabricators, where do you see the most struggle? And where, just kind of opening this up for a little bit of discussion now.
We see a lot of our clients have a huge amount of accounts receivable, some just ridiculous amounts. And these are jobs that have been done. The work has been done, and they just don't follow through with getting paid. So an alert for somebody to take that responsibility to make sure the payment comes is important. And the point that Kyle made about offering an incentive to pay early, he's right. It doesn't cost much, and it encourages folks to get the payment in quickly. We do that with our own services, and it pays off for us.
Right.
I'm going to comment on the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And many of our clients find the reminders to follow up on a proposal that they've sent to their client annoying, and have requested to have that go to a ghost user because they don't want to deal with it. And I'm always surprised by that, because you've taken the time to do the estimate, to quote the bid, and yet there doesn't seem to be any interest in the follow-up to close the sale. So numbers of scenarios have come across my desk in my mind, as in, okay, maybe we need to have a person that's dedicated to follow-ups. Maybe you have to have an individual or a methodology to follow up, because they're too busy doing the next estimate. In other words, it's just a lot of tire kicking. And if you look at the ratio of closing with those particular clients, it's actually quite low. So using Power BI as a tool to look at your closing ratio by sales rep, by project manager, or whatever metric you like to use, provides a lot of insight as to which of your team members is good at closing the sale, which dives into incentivizing the individuals in your company for having a good closing ratio. So those are a couple of things that I've run across and think that it's very important to be able to follow up and either find a reason why you can't close a sale and document that and address that in a quarterly meeting or monthly meeting, and close those sales.
Yeah, that's a great point, Roger. Not doing it, you're just leaving money on the table somehow. You're leaving learning on the table somehow in that process. Like, why are we not closing? The follow-up needs to happen. Sometimes it's just you run into people like me where life gets in the way and I intend to do it. And the third time you ask, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead with you because you're the one who one, you made it easy for me. Two, you showed you cared by following up. And I know those close ratios are a little bit, but like, what's the significance on your revenue if you do just take those extra 2 to 3 times of follow-up? This is kind of not action pay related, but it's a curious thought that I've had, and I'm curious to get feedback from Ed, Roderick, and anyone else on this call. But I heard about the subscription economy. Obviously, ActionFlow is a subscription economy, and how can we leverage that into granite shops like that? A subscription economy, the nice thing is the margins are fat, and you can what can you do to offer? So one thing I thought of to help increase that cash flow is priority scheduling. You create a membership for certain builders or contractors. If they want to join this group, they pay you X amount, they get priority scheduling. They get to move up or move back in the scheduling. I'm curious if some of you have thought along those same lines, or is there a way to do subscription type stuff in the granite world?
For repeat customers like builders and contractors, designers, kitchen and bath, absolutely. And I think that's a great idea, Kyle. We have some clients who do something similar to that. And priority scheduling is a cool way to do it. You don't necessarily have to give a discount, but if I'll put you pay me basically a retainer as a fabricator, and it would be deducted from that which you sell, we sell to you, but we'll give you priority. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, and you can have different levels based on volume, what they're bringing you, and if you bring us X more, you get more priority scheduling, and just trying to find ways to maximize anything you're doing. What other services can you leverage to the customer as well?
There is a feature request that came about in the conference this year, if you recall, to be able to color code accounts and build dealers, however you want to call them. And that being the case, if that was a feature, then there would be the ability to provide a color on those accounts. And then when they show up in the do now list, you could quickly identify those priority customers. So if you're an administrator of your system, take the time, look for that feature and vote on it. And I think that would be a nice add-on to what you're talking about with clients that you've already made an agreement with, that you would look after their business in a priority way, to be able to quickly identify those by color in your do now list.
Yes, if you're not an administrator, contact your administrator, look at the list and make that vote on that feature request. Any other question? I see someone typing in the chat, so I'm going to give it a second. But does anyone have a repair or service subscription that they offer customers? Ed or Roderick, with the fabricators that you guys work with, have you seen that at all?
I have not seen it on repairs.
No.
Not a bad idea, but I haven't seen anybody use it.
Yeah, I've heard that when I've raised this question in a few places, that's one idea that's come up is repairs or some type of warranty service. I'm not sure how you would
I'm
leverage
trying
that.
to understand the question. What is a service subscription? Can you explain that?
Can I jump in here?
Yeah,
To
yeah.
ask the question.
Yep.
So I've thought a lot about, you know, some of our returning customers. We have both commercial and retail. It is a lot of work to have a staff member available to go out and do those. And I've thought if someone else in the industry, you know, had done it already, I'd love to repeat it. But can you'd kind of, I think Ed had kind of touched on it. If you could, you know, especially with like your larger builders or your larger commercial clients, say, hey, you know, there's a retainer, there's something here, but we'll come out. If you have 10 properties, we'll consistently come out. We'll do chip repairs. We can replace sinks, things that are really expensive to send a staff member out for that isn't billable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have a staff member just designated for that. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious if anyone else in the industry is doing that, or that you guys have seen.
Now I understand the question. I do have a client in Wichita, Artistic Marble and Granite, who offers an upfront fee of, I believe it's $395 or $295 for a yearly service call. And
Okay.
They have done fairly well with that. And they do hot sauce the sales rep for going and closing that particular sale to be able to do that. But it has to be purchased, I think, within the first 30 days of the actual install. But they've been quite successful doing that, and it's been good for them.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was wondering.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of those things too, to incent, like along those same lines of incentivizing that early payment 100% before install. And I'm curious, in the chat, we don't have too much time. How much are you guys trying to collect before install? I know it varies. Some people, you want to collect 100%. I mean, people want to collect 100%. A lot of people are actually collecting after install. I'm curious on those ratios and those successes.
You might also want to make note that you also can add and include PaySimple on the mobile app.
Mm-hmm.
It is a obviously per user on a per user basis with PaySimple, but you can actually have the payment module on your device. So with your installers or service call folks going on site, they'll be able to collect payment. I do know some companies who have the templators who have it on theirs as well to collect the deposit at time of template.
Right. Yeah. Collecting that. Yeah. So yeah, the mobile app combined with PaySimple, you can go ahead. They can do credit card swipes. They can collect payment right there in the field as well.
The common approach is 50% at signing, as noted there in the chat. And that's more than enough typically to cover the materials. And it obviously commits the customer. That's mostly applicable to retail customers. That's, you know, the one sale, not typically a repeat customer. Commonly, not always, but commonly on repeat customers, you don't require them to put down a deposit. Some people do.
You seem to have a common census in the comments too. 50% at time of signing, 50% invoice at either day of install or after, one day after type of thing. So
right.
That's common practice.
Yeah. And I know there's you get pushback from customers, like, why would I pay you 100% before install, blah, 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 blah. I haven't seen the final product, but can you leverage it to try to get paid more? Can you add another 30% after fabrication is completed? I don't know, just trying to think of how to get people paid sooner. We're running out of time here a little bit. So I just wanted to share one case study of Titan Granite here in St. Louis, who does use Pay Simple, and just how it has helped their business save 2.5 hours per week by installers at the job site, not waiting for someone to get their checkbook or to figure out how they want to pay. They can show up, they can install, they can do their job. 1.5 hours saved per week by the front office staff through the automated billing, through having, the process and then the link to send to collect that payment. 0 canceled or deferred payments due to incomplete payments. And then this one I think is really cool. The 100% of jobs paid in full before installation and 40% before fabrication. They've built into their process in ActionFlow. This is when we ask for payment. They incentivize payment, and they're getting paid before they get out to the job site, which I think is a goal for a lot of people.
Can you comment whether this 100% is based upon clients that don't have terms?
Yeah, sorry,
this is terms.
This is more the residential. Yeah.
Okay, so customers who do not have terms with the fabricator. Okay.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, just some insight there. Happy to answer any other questions. If not, we've used our time.
Excellent session, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
That was well done and a lot of good information.
Appreciate it. And we'll be doing another one with Rick Phelps here. Josiah, when is that webinar with Rick from Synchronous Solutions?
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. So that's
28th.
28th, talking more about $2. And then we're also working on getting one. We got some things to figure out, but I want to get one with Roderick as well. Power BI and leveraging all that. So if you guys aren't using them as resources, Fab Choice and Synchronous Solutions, I definitely recommend reaching out and hearing what they have to say. So thanks everyone for joining, and hope to speak to everyone soon. Also, sorry, last thing. If you aren't using ActionPay and you're on this call, give a like or a thumbs up in the chat, and and you're interested in learning more, we'll have your account manager reach out on setting that up. If you're not an ActionFlow user and you would like to set up a discovery call, Josiah is going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat. So if you want to learn more about ActionPay, about ActionFlow, you can go ahead and take those steps. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yep.